So now, it is my pleasure to introduce our last keynote speaker. Our Institute theme this year is Reflect, Refresh, and Refocus, and we're going to help keeping us all refocused. Let me begin with a few questions. Are you looking to better yourself and your community? Could you use some actual tools to remove obstacles that get in the way of living your best life? Are you in need of some hope, health, and happiness at work? I think someone's reading my diary. Right. Annie Meehan worked in corporate America before becoming an entrepreneur and starting 2 fitness franchises, which she grew along with her successful team. Today, she's a certified coach, an international motivational speaker, and award-winning author of 5 books. When not speaking to amazing audiences like you, Annie could be found volunteering in her community, traveling with her family, and walking or being walked by her 2 little dogs, Peanut and Leo. And she's one of us, originally from Minnesota. I also want to mention that she will be selling and signing copies of her book following the presentation. Here today to help us live an exceptional life, please join me in welcoming Annie Meehan.
Have you ever felt totally overwhelmed? Like you just want to hide under the covers, no more bad news. No more resignation, no more diseases, no more bad news. I can't take it. I feel hopeless, unhealthy, and unhappy. I can't get out of bed today. You see, I know what it's like to be hopeless. I watched my brother take his life, and only 22 short years later, his son. I watched my father and my sister drink themselves to death. I know what it's like to be homeless, surviving a fire, a flood, and most recently, Hurricane Ian. There's days you just want to hide. I know what it's like to be unhealthy, growing up the middle of 7 children, raised by a single mom who struggled with mental illness, undiagnosed, untreated. And I know what it's like to be unhappy, crying yourself to sleep every night under the covers, wondering if it's even worth getting out of bed tomorrow. I bet some of you have felt like that. I bet sometimes in your life, there's so much bad news that you think, really? Really? I can't take one more resignation. How about one more email? How about one more conversation about the pandemic? I can't take it. But what I realized throughout my life was, what if, in the midst of all that and more, we had a choice to figure out how to be hopeful, how to be healthy, and how to be happy. That's what I'm here to talk about today. And I hope, though people often will describe me, hey, Annie, you're a motivational speaker. Maybe. Oh, no, you're an inspirational speaker. Sometimes. But what I really want to be is an activational speaker. Because when I first started speaking, I would think, oh my gosh, I hope you like me. I just really hope you like me. And then one day I woke up and I thought, who cares? I mean, honest to goodness, who cares if you like me? Because if I care about you liking me, that's all about me and my ego. But what I really, really care about is you liking you. Because you may never see me again, but you are going to look in the mirror at yourself every single day. So I want to be an activational speaker that reminds you to like yourself. Because in order to create an H3 culture in your workplace, you have to start with yourself. Because this is the only thing that we have every day. That's us. And so if we learn to be hopeful and healthy and happy, it can change everything. So some of you, not all of you, have 2 things that I would like you to have. You have one of these. It's on your app. They didn't print it out for everyone, so I printed about 50 or 100 of them, so some of the chairs have them. I have one extra one here if you are a person that likes to have the material. And then some of you have a comment card like this. Some of you have a comment card that's long. I'm going to give away some books at the end. If you did not get a comment card, you can just take out a business card or a sheet of paper, put your name down. If you don't mind, if you can write the word speak, if you want to learn about my other presentations, coach, if you want to learn about coaching, or just put your name and email and cell phone number, and I will text you if you win, or I'll announce it in here. So anyway, this is up here if someone wants it. So you guys are here, and you think you're here to be motivated, but this is actually a fashion show. Anybody up for a fashion show? Right? Why not? Let's have a little fun. So I think I'm in Florida. So after 30 years of begging my husband to move to Florida with me, I convinced him to move there with me 11 months to the day before Hurricane Ian hit our home. And for those of you that are familiar with Southwest Florida, it literally looks like a bomb went off on Fort Myers Beach. There was literally a house that was on the other side of our concrete wall in our swimming pool when we got up the next day. For 22 hours, we locked ourselves in our storeroom where our building shook, vibrated actually. And so my husband, I got up the next day, I thought he's gonna say, I gotta get out of here, and his family's gonna say, we gotta get out of here. But he said, I love Florida, because I can wear shorts in February and go for a jog on the beach. I love Florida. And so we do still live there, and one night before I came here, I slept in my bed in my home for the first time in 4 months and a week, 4.5 moves, and one of my dogs going blind over the last 4.5 months. But I have been hopeless before, and so I always try to keep on holding on to that hope. So we're gonna talk about colors in a minute, but I wanna tell you a little bit about why you guys matter so much to me and how I just feel so honored and privileged to be here. For one thing, I wanna thank you on behalf of every single resident that can't, including my mother, will never say thank you. In fact, she always liked nuns. They were the only good people in the world until she moved into Little Sisters of the Poor. So my mother is 94 years old. She lives in San Francisco. And about a week ago, she got COVID. And so that would seem really bad to you. But as I had the opportunity to talk to her every day since she got diagnosed, people are like, how's she doing? And I said, well, I think she's okay. Because when I talked to her, she's like, these people are out to get me. They gave me butter spread. How am I supposed to eat my English muffin with butter spread? Butter spread's not butter. They know I only eat butter. And for 12 minutes, she complained about the butter spread. So it was a good sign, right? She's gonna be okay. I think she's gonna be okay. And my mother-in-law, who lives here in Minneapolis and has been terrified of senior housing her whole life because somebody told her it was bad. My father-in-law passed away 2 years ago now at 96. She's 93 and she lives in Richfield in senior housing. And she's like, oh my God, like every time you'd talk to her previous to living there, I'm just bored, there's nothing to do, but I can't go to one of those places. They lock you in the room and they don't let you out. We're like, that is not a true story. That is not a true story. Well, so now she's like, oh my gosh, there's this show on TV called American Idol. Have you guys ever heard of it? Like I watch it and they invite me to movies and I'm actually too busy to talk, so I'll call you later. And my daughter's like cracking up, like what happened to grandma? But she's so happy. So she lives in Richfield in senior housing. My mother lives in San Francisco in Little Sisters of the Poor, where I was originally born. And my sister, who lives here in the Twin Cities, is a social worker and has worked for 2 senior communities in Edina and now does a lot of private care as well. And I will tell you that the work I do is for a lot of reasons, but one thing that my sister tells me so many stories about elderly people feeling unseen, feeling unvalued, and that the staff becomes their family, and that they become their family. My sister says, I have more moms and grandmas than I know what to do with, but I've never felt so loved and had the privilege to love so many. All right, let me get back to does anybody have ADD in the room? I can't even spell that right. I have dyslexia, and so words are very confusing in my head. But if you have ADD, you're gonna love this, because I kind of go into, but I promise I'll get somewhere. I don't know where, but I promise I will get somewhere. But we're gonna talk about color. So what's the #1 color most women wear? Black. And why do we wear black? Well, why do you think that being slim makes you look better? I think people are beautiful, whatever size they are, but one thing I will tell you is the reason we wear black at funerals is it washes the color out of our face, ladies and gentlemen. Please don't wear black to look better. Wear color, because color tells stories. In fact, color tells a subliminal story to everyone that approaches you. Today, I'm a tree. Can you see that? I've got roots and wings. Sometimes I'm a butterfly flying across the stage. But colors tell stories. The color yellow is the color of hope. When you put on yellow, not only will it make you feel better, but you project that to everyone you encounter. And think of all the people you encounter in your work, let alone in your home. The color green is the color of health and wealth and growth. And the color orange is the color of happy. Pink is the friendliest color. Blue is the color of trust. Purple is the color of royalty, valuing yourself and other people. So I want you to take notes, if you will, or have one of these. They're passed out on some of the seats, and fill this in as we go. So I love the theme of this conference because it fits so well with what I teach with H3. So my question for you is, how do you become hopeful when you feel hopeless? How do you discover hope when life is hard? We've all gone through something or many somethings in our life, and then we get through them and we arrive. And so what I like to think about is reflect. Your first word and theme of this conference is reflect. And the way that I describe hope is look back to look forward. Look back and reflect as you look forward. What I mean by that is this. In 3rd grade, I still did not know how to read. I have dyslexia. Words are still really hard for me. And the fact that I've written 7 books is rather miraculous because I didn't even know how to read, let alone write. But I always have a coach that walks alongside me so I can do my good work. But when I was in 3rd grade, I didn't know how to read, and I thought I was so stupid. And there was a lot of reasons to think that I was stupid. People would tell me that. But when I was 21, I tried to go to college, and I was filling out an application to get a grant. And when I went and met the man for an interview, he said, "Are you sure this is you?" And I said, "Yeah, that's me." He said, "It's so interesting because you're so articulate, and yet I thought this person was illiterate." The problem with labels that people put on us and that we put on ourselves is they can leave us stuck. But today, I have 7 books, and I just would love to call that man and say, "Hey, can I see one of your books?" You know what I mean? We gotta figure out how to stay hopeful, even if we're betting against ourselves, life is betting against us, or other people are betting against us. So what is something, and just yell it out to me, whoever feels comfortable, what's a time in your life that you went through something really hard and you felt hopeless? A relationship change, a health concern, a career change. What is something you went through? Who's someone who can just yell that out to us? I can barely see you because the light comes on me and not on you. So, COVID, right? Super hopeless. For me personally, and I know you're in a different industry than I am, but I would not watch the news. I still don't really watch the news. And I would try to reframe the word. But definitely COVID, the pandemic, made us feel hopeless. I had 110 speaking engagements booked, and I was standing on the stage at the Radisson Blu Mall of America. The audience was supposed to be 350, and 250 people showed up, and at 1:30, the governor was making an announcement. By 1:17, the room was empty. People were terrified. They were hopeless. And there was proof to be hopeless, right? People died. People got sick. People felt isolated. And if we didn't already feel lonely enough, people were literally totally alone and totally overwhelmed. And though for our protection we wore masks, it gave us another barrier to feel disconnected. When you think about COVID, first hearing about it affecting your work and your home and your life, how did you stay hopeful? How did you stay optimistic to keep moving forward? Helped other people. I love that. I'm very much about not what's in it for me, but how can I serve in the midst of an obstacle? How can I serve in the midst of a challenge? So when you felt hopeless or overwhelmed by COVID, pushing through it and realizing who can I impact, what can I do, well, that changes everything. Because you get out of yourself, you get out of fear. I think there's 2 ways we go through almost every experience of our life. We either show up fear-led or love-led. Fear-led will leave us sitting back. Love-led will always leave us thinking, okay, I am struggling, but who can I serve? There is nothing greater to get out of depression than to serve another person. It stops us from thinking about our own fear and our own angst and our own struggle when we serve another person. It's a very powerful thing. So when you think about hope and you look back at the beginning of COVID to where you are today and how many lives you've figured out how to creatively impact and touch, even in the midst of a pandemic, do you recognize that? Do you see what I mean? How you reflect back, you look back to look forward. Whenever I'm struggling in my life, when the hurricane hit, I thought, look how far you've come. Look at all the things you've come through to get to where you are, let alone to be the vision of where you're going. Does that make sense? Think of a time in your life you felt so hopeless, you were hiding under your blanket, and now look at you. You guys are gathered here, better numbers than they've had in years, right? Amazing, seeing people, connecting with people, hugging, touching, talking, encouraging one another. I've had such a joy at my book table and walking around, meeting people and engaging with other people. You look back to look forward. So if you have hope on this sheet, or if you have a sheet of paper, what I'd like you to think about is, what are you looking forward to? Everything great in my life, I visualized it before it actually happened. I visualized it before it happened. So what can you reflect, look back to look forward? What do you visualize being great in the future? Who will you impact? Where will you be? How will your life be celebrated? How will you stand on a stage somewhere and sing and think about the joy that you bring, and what a privilege to volunteer, right? That was beautiful, watching her win that award. So what are you looking forward to? What are some things that you guys are looking forward to in the future? A wedding, awesome. Wedding, what? I heard another one right here. Staffing, having more people show up for work? Having more people want to work there? Yes, yes. Having somehow inspiring people. I've had a job since I was 7. I can't imagine not working. And I've loved my jobs that I get to serve other people, which have been most of my work. Being full again, not having a now hiring sign on your door. Looking forward to when every position is filled and you're not overworked and overwhelmed. Excellent. How about health? When I say the word health, what do you think of? Emotional. Thank you for participating. Exercise. Owning gyms for 12 years, I used to tell people, they'd come to my gym and they'd say, hey, I want to lose weight. And I would say, I'm sorry, I can't help you. And my husband would say, why do you say that to people? And I would say, because I don't care enough to actually help them if they're concerned about a number on the scale. What I care about is people's health overall. And what I recognize is I would meet clients and they'd say, Annie, you got to help me lose weight. I stress eat every night. And what I would do is get to know those clients. Tell me about your story. Tell me what's going on in your life. And what they would say to me is, oh my gosh, I'm maxed out on my credit cards. I'm so overwhelmed. I just sit in bed and I eat potato chips because I'm so stressed. So was their problem the scale or their finances? And what I realized is that health is actually 7 things minimum. I think of 7 things. But what I like you to do is reflect and assess to address, is how I call it. So I'm going to give you 7 words to write down, and then we're going to assess them so that we can address them. All right? And so here's your 7 words. Your first one is physical. Your next one is emotional. Your next one is mental, spiritual, relational, financial, and career. Did you get all 7? Physical, emotional, mental, spiritual, financial, relational, and career. After you've written down all 7, we're going to assess them, because nobody else gets to decide whether or not what you're healthy. A lot of times people say, oh, okay, I'll lose weight. Okay, I'll work out more. And those can be good things, but they're not the only thing. When I think about you being healthy, I think of you being a whole being as healthy. And when you are that, that's what you bring to the workplace. And so when we think about health, physical. Physical's a hard one, but I'm going to give you 2 analogies and then you score it. The first one is this. When you get up in the morning, do you bounce out of bed and you're ready to go through the day? Or do you need Advil and caffeine to get through the day? That's the first question. The second question is, if I took a picture of you right now and just blew it up on the screen, would you think, oh my gosh, I am so good looking? I can barely even stand it. Like, it's hard to be this good looking. Or would you critique yourself and have negative thoughts or negative words about how you look or how you see your body? Do you say kind things about yourself when you see yourself in a mirror in a picture, or negative things? A high score is a 10. I am doing amazing on my physical health. A low score is a 0. You can be any score in between, all right? The next one is your emotional health. What I mean by your emotional health is this. Are you emotionally healthy? And here's how you know. You are unapologetically whatever you are. Instead of saying, I'm sorry I'm sad, I'm sorry I'm so excited, I'm sorry I'm so angry, I'm sorry I'm so frustrated, I'm sorry I'm so joy-filled, we just say, I am joy-filled, I'm sad, I'm frustrated, I'm disappointed, I'm overwhelmed. We allow ourselves whatever we feel appropriately without apology. Give yourself a high score if you acknowledge your emotions without apology. Does that make sense? So many people apologize for what they're feeling. We are emotional beings. Your mental health, I don't mean the opposite of mental illness. I mean, how is your cognitive health? Can you concentrate? Can you focus? Can you remember what you're going to do? Can you think clearly, or is your mind always spinning? And if it is, using meditation to calm it during the day or in the evening is great. What is the next one? Spiritual health. Spiritual health. So spiritual health, do you believe in something greater than yourself, and do you make time for that belief? Give yourself a score, 0 to 10. 10 is like, oh my gosh, I always am very disciplined about quiet time and time in believing, because if it is a 0, it means you think you're in charge. And a lot of people will tell young parents, oh, terrible 2s are horrible. Are you kidding me? Like, you can pick up a 2-year-old, put him on a timeout. How about terrible 20s, right? How about, it's hard to pick them up. I'm 28 years old, and I got a 34-year-old, a 28-year-old, and a 24-year-old. I don't even know whose kids they are. And they have so many rules. Like, if you have young adult kids, they are so weird. Because, like, my oldest, he will not text. He doesn't believe in text, nor does he believe in voicemail, but he only wants to talk to me on the phone. Only when it's convenient for him and he feels like picking up, okay? Then my daughter, she doesn't care if she's buying a house. She won't pick up the phone. She thinks you should be able to text to buy a home. And then my youngest goes to college and he says to me, hey, Mom, you know, all the other moms FaceTime. Why don't you? I'm like, oh my, I need a menu to talk to my children, right? Anybody? Like, that's a real thing. That's a real thing. I was talking about spiritual health, though. What am I talking about? What I'm talking about is when you think you're in charge. When you're in charge of everything, it gives you anxiety. And so make time to have a faith in something greater than yourself, whatever that is for you, but having time in it, not just having it. Does that make sense? All right, what's the next one? What is it? Relational health. Good, healthy relationships are people that believe in you on your good and bad days. So imagine the people in your life, the people you work with, the people you live with, people you're friends with. Think of Winnie the Pooh characters. Do you have a lot of Tiggers like me that are like a lot and kind of bouncy flouncy? Or do you have a lot of Eeyores that kind of drag you down, even in your good and bad? That won't work out for you. Yep, things aren't getting better. Yep, did you see the news? Whenever somebody's first thing they say to me is, did you see the news? I'm always like, I gotta go. Thanks for calling, right? Like, I don't watch the news. The news doesn't change my life. I think each of us individually can change each other's lives by being pineapple people, and we'll get to that in a minute, but I think we can change lives. I wanna celebrate good news, your good news, my good news, not watch the news. Does that make sense? So think of the people in your life, good, healthy relationships, believe in you on your good and bad days. And there can be stress for sure. When you're dealing with elderly parents and teenagers, it can be exhausting. But give yourself a score. How are your relationships overall? Are they positive? Are they straining to you or uplifting to you? How are your relationships? All right. What's next? Financial. Financial is a fun one. People don't like to talk about, people would much rather talk about sex than money. Let me just tell you that. You know what I mean? Because money, if we don't talk about it, we can act like it doesn't matter. But I want to ask you 4 questions before you rate your financial health. The first question is, do you make enough money? We could all make more, but do you make enough? The second question is, do you give enough money? Do you know that people that give are more joy-filled? And I don't care if it's $1 or $1 million, giving money brings you joy. The third one is, do you save enough? And it's the 4th question most people don't like. Do you spend too much? Right? Because there's like this smiley face app on our phones, and you can actually just push that button and buy something and have no idea what you're buying. Buy now. Okay, buy now. So I was talking about this at a conference once, and this guy comes up to me afterwards, and he was like, I love that you talk about that. And I said, oh, tell me about it. He said, well, I get home before my wife, and she gets a lot of those buy now packages. And so I take them all and I put them in the closet. And the first time I said, honey, you want to play a game? And she loves games. And she said, yeah. And he said, well, sit down. I'm going to pour you a glass of wine. She's like, what's going on with you? He's like, oh, it's going to be super fun. And as she's sitting there, he goes to the front closet, pulls out all the boxes, and he holds them up. And he says, if you can guess what's in here, you get to keep it. And if not, we're returning it. He said, so far, I'm winning 80% of the time. 80% of the time. It is so easy to get our finances out of order that can make us physically sick without thinking about it. Did you know that in 2020, as many people were very sad about COVID and the pandemic, which I understand that was very sad, you know what I was sad about? Monopoly got rid of money. They now have a swiping machine. Do you know that when you swipe your credit card, there's a lot less emotional attachment than when you hand over a $20 bill? Right? My kids learned money. I learned money by playing Monopoly. We have to think about our finances. Are we spending too much? And our last one is our career. Is that right? Is career the last one we have? I think that's spiritual is believing in something greater than yourself and making time for it. Not just saying, I have a belief, but that's when I start talking about my kids. See, that's why you got lost. Because I was saying, because for me, I always think when I'm in charge of the universe, I'm in charge of them. And then when your kids turn into adults, you're not in charge of them. And so my faith has helped me remember that I'm not in charge. And I love the serenity prayer, whether you're a prayer or not, but it reminds you to have wisdom and strength, right? And so that's what it's like, believing and making time for it, not just saying you believe. And the last one's your career. And the career comes with 4 questions as well. The first question is, do I like what I do? Do I like who I do it with? Am I fairly compensated for it? And number 4 is, does it still challenge me? Work should be hard. When my kids call me and say, hey, Mom, my job's hard, I say, well, that's why we get paid to do it. Work is hard. Work is challenging. So after you've given yourself a score of 0 to 10 on each of those, 10 being the highest, 0 being the lowest, what I want you to do is pick 2 or 3 and give yourself a smiley face. What are the areas of your life that are working, that are bringing you joy? Give yourself some smiley faces. Where do you feel passion and hopeful and positive about your life? But the reality of life is there's also always stress. What are the areas of your life, 1 or 2, that are kind of frown faces, that make you feel sad? Give yourself a couple of those. And then if you have this sheet of paper, or if you have a different sheet of paper, turn it over, give yourself a blank sheet of paper, and draw a large circle on it. The circle can be a pie if you have a sweet tooth, or a pizza if you're savory. In my case, I like all food, so it's half pizza, half pie. You can cut it into 4, 6, or 8 slices, depending on what size you like. And look at those 7 areas and ask yourself, what is the one area I want to change in my life? If I could only change one, what would it be? Is it my financial? Is it my spiritual? Is it my career? Is it my relationships? What do I want to change? And what I want you to do is right at the top of that circle, say it's financial, financial. And then I draw a pie and I cut it in 4 pieces and I write, start a budget, start a change dish, go through Dave Ramsey Financial Peace University, pay off my first credit card. So I have 4 specific ways, not less or more, but specific ways that I could improve that one area. Does that make sense? I want you to write down a minimum of 3 and 8 specific ways you could improve one area of your life. Because the truth is we can only do one thing at a time. When I meet people and they're like, oh, Annie, my life's a mess, I say, let's start with 1. Let's just start with 1. Because we can always build on that one win. And when we feel healthier, it changes everything. Does somebody who's feeling brave have at least 3 answers written down and would be willing to share those? Is there anyone in the audience willing to volunteer and share those? There's a whole bunch of you raising your hands, so it's hard to pick which one to go with at this point in the presentation. Come on, just 3 answers. Come on, really? This many people now? Oh, thank you so much. Come on up. Bring your sheet of paper and come on up. Thank you so much. Cheer her on. Come on. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Come on. Come on, all the way. All the way. And she's in purplish. Would we call that purple?
Okay, we'll go with
I'm going to go with purple pink.
Yeah.
So you're like a friendly royalty. I love it. Tell us your name.
Lindsay.
Lindsay.
Yeah.
Excellent. Lindsay, and what area of your life are you going to improve?
I'm going to, like, physical.
Physical health,
Yeah.
okay. And what are some things you could do?
Better, like thoughts about myself, right? Like,
Oh, self-talk.
Yeah.
Because
like,
you're
wake
super
up-
good looking. When you look in a mirror, you're like, woo, right?
No.
No, we're getting there though, but not yet.
Not yet. Yeah,
Not
we're
yet.
gonna get
We're going to
there.
get
Yeah,
there.
we're
Yeah,
gonna
for
get
sure.
there.
Let's get
Yeah.
there. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. So positive self-reflection, thoughts in our head. Our biggest bully, usually people talk about bullying, is right here in our own dang head, right?
Yep.
So, okay. So better thoughts about yourself.
Yep.
That's one thing. What
Yeah.
else?
I think the spiritual too, like just remembering that there's something bigger out there.
You're not in charge.
Yeah, I'm not in charge all
That's
the
a
time.
weird-
I like to be in charge.
Yeah,
but
me too.
I'm
Me too.
not
I know.
always in charge.
But
Yeah.
it's a stress relief, and that actually helps our physical health when we remember we don't have to be in charge of everything, right?
Yep,
So
yep.
anything else on physical? I'd love to have like 3 on physical.
I would say like benefiting relationships too. Like, well, not benefiting relationships, but like your physical health overall, like getting more active and getting up in the morning and not using the caffeine and Advil.
Not using the caffeine and Advil, being more active, all great ideas. Okay, so which one, Lindsay, are you actually gonna do? Is it gonna be better thoughts about yourself? Is it gonna be more movement? Is it gonna be less dependency on supplements in order to make it through the day?
I would say the positive thoughts about stuff.
Positive thoughts about yourself. Okay, excellent. And when are you going to start doing that?
Today.
Today. You're going to start that today. So you're going to so when a negative thought comes in and goes, look at that girl, she, all that silliness that we do to ourselves, what are you going to do to counter that?
I would say, think about something positive that I like about myself.
I love that. Think about something positive you like about yourself. Okay, what I want you to do is ask someone in this room to be your accountability partner.
Okay.
So who do you,
is really
it's
hard to
hard,
see
right?
up
It's
here.
hard.
Yeah.
See, I wanted you to have my perspective.
Yeah.
You gotta, but if you do this, you can see people better. So come on up a little bit and right here, and then look out and see. Is there who do you want to? There's some nice people out
There's
there,
a lot of
good-looking
people
people.
out there,
A lot of
yeah.
really good-looking
Yeah.
people. Yeah.
I mean, I know one, if she's still here, but.
Well, let's
I don't
just
know if
call her out.
Yeah, her name is Jenny.
Jenny, are
Yeah.
you still here? You know who you are, Jenny.
She probably.
Jenny, did you leave me?
She might have left.
Jenny, jeez.
I'll text her.
How about
Or
it?
call her.
No. We got to do this right here, right now. So how about
oh.
somebody we don't know? Just even point at.
Yeah, I mean,
just
I
let's
could use
ask
someone
him.
from my green group over there, like Casey.
So let's ask Casey. We don't want to assume. No. Don't get so excited yet. Okay, let's ask Casey.
Casey, will you help hold me accountable to that? Yeah.
You know what? And the weird thing about Casey is, what it actually means is you're going to move into Lindsay's house and every day whisper, "You're beautiful." Are you okay with that? Are you okay with that? Because here's the thing. When we have the privilege, and let me just say, be real clear, it is a privilege to be someone's accountability partner, and it is totally okay to say no. But for sure, if you say yes, before you say yes, say, what does that look like? What do you need from me? And maybe that's a text once a week, an email once a week, a phone call. But you need to know before we say yes. Otherwise, we set both of you up to fail. Being clear on what is involved in accountability is so important. So try again. Ask her again.
Will you be my accountability partner? What does that look like?
Good job.
I would say, if I'm feeling hopeless about it, or if I'm having negative thoughts that I can't get out, or I can't get out of my head, I will email you or text you.
Oh, no.
To help with that.
No, that's not being an accountability partner, sister. Okay, here's what we're gonna do. So we're gonna give her Tuesdays at 10, could you text me and say, how's my self-talk going? Or email me or phone call. You're just giving her something, because how is she gonna know what you're thinking in your head?
Well, I would have to text her and let her know.
I know, but she's your accountability. She's gonna check in on you.
Okay.
It's okay to
Yeah.
let someone take care of you.
All right.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
And especially we're in caregiving industry, it's hard to believe, but okay, so what would you like her to do?
Yeah,
Because she asked, what is it? What is it, an email, text,
Yeah,
phone call?
let's do a once a week email. Yeah, Tuesdays, once a week email on Tuesdays.
Great. What time?
9:30.
9? Awesome. Okay, we're not done with you yet. Okay, and what is it? This is Lindsay, right? And you're Casey?
Yeah.
So Casey, at 9:30 next Tuesday, you're gonna email her, how's it going? How's your self-talk? Thinking about you, hope you're doing great. And she's gonna go, are you kidding me? That Annie Meehan freaked me out. I got more negative self-talk than I had before I got up on the stage. And what are you gonna say to her when she does that?
Who cares what Annie says? You're amazing.
I like that answer. I like it. But usually, what we do, now I'm going to ask all of you to be my accountability partner, and I'm going to tell you all, I am never, ever going to eat chocolate cake again. And you walk in and I'm eating that chocolate cake. What do you say to me?
Hello, girl.
You guys are a bunch of naughty accountability partners. Okay, most of the time, this is what we do. What are you doing? You said you weren't going to eat chocolate cake, right? Is that what we do? We shame each other. But when I'm doing what I don't want to do, am I already shaming myself? And the truth is, if you came in and said, what are you doing, Annie? What I'd say is, whoops. And I'd set that fork down and I'd back up real slow. I would grab the rest of the chocolate cake and go in the closet and eat that. Because the truth is, when we're doing what we don't want to do or not doing what we want to do, we're already shaming ourselves. And as accountability partners, what I have seen through many, many years is people either shame you or they save you. But who's the smartest person in your life? You are. And if you would have asked me, hey, Annie, why are you eating that chocolate cake? I would have told you, oh, guess what? My husband just got fired, And right after he came in the door and said he got fired, the phone rang, and my son got in another fight in school. And right after that, I got the mail, and I had an $800 medical bill that I didn't know how I was going to pay. And in that moment, the only thing I thought I could do was eat sweet chocolate cake. And if Lindsay talks to you on Monday and Tuesday and says, oh my gosh, I've had so much negative self-talk, which I know she's not going to do because she is amazing. But if she does do that, instead of saying, why are you doing that? Or saying you're great, because when you say you're great, what you're doing is saving. And we don't need anyone to shame us or to save us, because Lindsay is smart enough, strong enough, capable enough of figuring out. But what you can do as an amazing accountability partner is say, hey, tell me about your weekend. What happened? Because circumstances happen that leave us beating ourselves up. But Lindsay's not going to do that. And do you know why she's not? Because of this. Because Lindsay came up on the stage, and multiple times I said her name is Lindsay, because here's why. This is how people set goals that have to do with your health. Number 1, we think about it. Number 2, we write it down. Number 3, we speak it. Number 4, we attach our name to it. Every time I touch you and say Lindsay, that is intentional, because I'm reminding you what you're saying and what you're capable of. Then she chose a date to begin. Then she chose a friend to hold her accountable and encourage her on a journey. Not to save her or to shame her, but encourage her on a journey. How much more likely do you think she is going to be to achieving her goal than people that just think about it, right? Please give Lindsay a big hand. You're amazing and beautiful. Don't forget it. Don't forget it. All right. So when you think about your health, assess to address. So as we reflect from being hopeless to where we were to where we're going, and then we move to health. What is the second word? It just went out of my head. Reflect. Refresh your goals. Yes, that's what. Refresh your goals. What are your health goals for the year? And just do them 1 month at a time. I want Lindsay to focus on her self-talk for the rest of February. Whatever you wrote down, I want you to focus on it for the rest of February. Whether you do it 2 days a week or 3 days a week, pick something new, another thing you can do in March, and focus on it. Just do it for a month, not a number of days. And there's a reason for that in psychology. I want to move to happiness. When we are feeling unhappy, it is very difficult to snap out of it and be happy suddenly. So what I'd like you to do is write down 10 things right now that make you happy, so that when you get in that low point in your life, you can just look at your list and you remember butterflying, loud music, good friends, hugs, cooking, dancing, walking on the beach, whatever it is, write down what makes you happy. Because when we are unhappy, it is hard to remember. We have to refresh our goals, and we have to refocus on what made us happy pre-COVID. What would we look forward to, and what are we still looking forward to? Who is the smile? Who's the encouraging word that affects your life? There's a lot of things that make me happy, but I think over all these years and thousands of clients that I've worked with, what I know is there are 2 medicines that I think everybody needs, and the first one is movement. Movement is medicine, not only for our physical, but for our mental and our emotional body. So I love to dance like nobody's watching. I love to dance and sing and move around. But I also know that movement is medicine, but so is laughter. And when you are fun-sized like me, like I may appear 6 foot tall to you, and on YouTube sometimes I do, but in real life I'm fun-sized. And what I thought about is, how can I help people that are fun-size or any size take a great selfie? Would any of you like to know how to take a great selfie? All right. All right, so when you're fun size, you gotta lean back a lot, right? But I can only lean back so far. So I started thinking about, how can I help people take a great selfie? Now, is anyone in the room single? Because it matters most for you what I'm gonna teach you today. You're gonna love this the most, because you'll probably be using it on your apps after I show you. But before that, 3 questions. Number 1, are you brave? If you're super brave, I want your hand up here. If you're medium brave, right here. And if you're not even sure what the heck brave, right down here. So come on, everybody, where's your hand? Way up if you're super brave, medium, and not quite sure. Okay, second question. Do you want to be better looking instantaneously, no Botox required? Anybody? Like, come on, right? And then the third question is, do you care about young people in particular? No, somebody said no, come on. I consider young anyone under 65, so let's just have a perspective thing here. When people say people are old, it kind of makes me laugh. I mean, I'm not laughing at, but my mom's 94, my mother-in-law is 93, my father-in-law was 96. Like, I think you're like start to get old at 85. Anybody? I don't know. Anyway, young people. and in particular, young girls. All right. If you care about those things, I would like you to join me. Everybody take out your cell phone. And this is like a double bonus because we're going to give you a great selfie and we're going to give you an arm exercise at the same time. All right, so everyone have your cell phone out. I want you to hold it out all the way in front of you this way with both arms stretched as far as you can. And keep your elbows up really high and then put them out and slowly bring them in, bring them in, bring them in, and lay it flat on your chest. You don't need eyeballs. There's no eyeballs. And I want you to, if you have nose hair, that's like a double bonus. And so snap that picture. And then for those of you that are super brave up here, what I want you to do is I want you to post that picture on your favorite social media right now. And you have a choice of 2 captions. You can either write, "Aren't I good looking?" and just turn your phone over for an hour, just turn it over. Or you can write, "Annie says I'm good looking," if you need a little boost behind you. But either "Aren't I good looking?" or "Annie's," and then turn it over. For those of you that are like medium brave, what I want you to do is text it to someone and just write, "Should I make this my profile picture?" Just turn it over, turn it over. And for those of you like, "Annie, I don't know, you're kind of weird," and just keep it for a while, because I have people that start every weekly meeting saying who can get the goofiest, who has the most nose hairs. If you get 9 or more chins, you're winning. You win. You have to have 3. You don't even need eyeballs. Again, you just get that picture. But more than anything, I teach that for a couple of reasons. Number one, my daughter, who is a beautiful 28-year-old young lady, she was a competitive dancer, and her friends would take 99 pictures. They would delete 98. They would post one, and they would critique and edit it. It breaks my heart. And what I started thinking, when I started speaking all over the world and I meet amazing people and they'll tell me, "Annie, I'm doing this, I'm doing that." And I was speaking in Colorado last week and I met a guy that went to school for environmental studies. And I said, "What did you want to do with that?" And he said, "I wanted to save the environment." And I said, "That's awesome." And he works in HR now. And so, you know, it's a beautiful thing. And I said, "You know what I want to do? I want to save humanity. I want to show people that what we put on social media that's so perfect doesn't really matter. What matters is this, what's on the inside." I was recently speaking at a financial service conference, and the leader came up and he said, "Can I get a picture of you? What's your best side?" I said, "Well, I hope my inside." Don't you hope your inside's your best side? Don't you hope that what people remember about you is how you showed up and made them feel? You see, that's good for laughter because you can laugh at yourself and you can let other people laugh at you, and who cares? One woman sent it to her daughters and her daughter said, "Mom, if you posted that, you would be my hero." And you know what the woman said to me? "I just feel so self-conscious." And I said, "That breaks my heart, because the only people that really matter in your life are not your fans on Facebook. They're your daughters in your home." And for those of you who are single, I want you to use that for your profile on an app. And here's why. Because when people meet you, don't you want them to say, "Dang, you're a lot better looking," right? Right? I mean, I post that once a month on social media. I meet my clients when I show up and people are like, "Geez, you're better looking than we thought." I'm like, I know, right? Like, isn't it fun to just laugh at ourselves and show the messy parts? Be brave. And the second thing that I want to teach you about that makes me so happy is that a number of years ago, a friend came here to Minnesota. I lived here for 40 years. I moved 83 times by the time I was 18 years old. And then I lived here 40 years and begged my husband for 30 of those to move to the beach with me. And then 11 months to the day, we lost our home for 4.5 months. So it has been a challenging journey, and there will be more challenges ahead. But when I lived here, a friend drove up from Chicago, and at the time I always wore orange, because orange is the color of happiness. And she said, "You got to get to this store. There's a bright skirt that you got to have." And I ran in to get to the store, and there was this bright orange skirt, and it was covered with pineapples. And I said, "I get the orange, but why the pineapples?" She's like, "Oh my gosh, you're such a pineapple." And I'm like, "What's a pineapple?" So I invite you all to stand up and let me tell you about a pineapple. Please stand. It's a poem, and it goes like this. Be a pineapple. Stand up straight. Wear a crown. And be sweet on the inside. Be a pineapple. Isn't that cute? But if you haven't caught on by now, I'm not really about being cute. And you can stand or sit however you'd like. Whatever feels good to your body and your back, it's all about you. But this is what I think. I started to think about what is a pineapple. And I started to think, what does it mean to be a pineapple? And so I wrote this book about it. But what I thought about is when we stand up straight, most of us are doing this. Hey, how are you? Oh my gosh, there's someone more exciting. Oh, can I be with you? We're either looking down at our phones or we're looking beyond because we're distracted. But what if we literally stood up straight and we saw people? I think you guys in this audience are probably my most #1 audience for actually doing this in your work. Just seeing people. And that people feel invisible. No matter their age, no matter their status in life, many people feel lonely and invisible. And how about that crown? What if we wore the crown every day? I get up every morning, you know what I want to do? Lay in bed and eat donuts. Anybody? Like, right? Like, I want to lay in bed and eat donuts, but when I remember I have a crown on, I remember I'm valuable, and you're valuable too. So I get out of bed and I drink water and I go for a walk. And how about when you're sweet on the inside? What comes through your keyboard or through your text or through your mouth is kindness, love, and encouragement. And I want to teach the world to be pineapple people, to be sweet on the inside, and that brings me joy. My vision is to create a pineapple movement where everywhere I go, people go, I'm a pineapple person, I'm a pineapple person, I'm celebrating my friends at work, they're pineapple people. We love pineapple people. Because happiness is about generosity. Happiness is about the difference we make in another person's life, not just in ours. And so I like to write down the things that make me happy, because when life is hard, because it is, there's always something to make me happy. So I see that clock is just ticking away, and so I'm going to give away a few books, but I don't want to keep you too long. So what I'd like you to do is you can fill out a comment card. Here's an extra one if someone needs one, or you have them on your table, or just write something on your card. I'm going to give away 4 books. I'm going to describe them to you, and I will text the winner and be out at my table out there and come get it there. Does that make sense? So you don't have to fold it or anything. You can just write on a card or whatever and hand it in. But let me tell you about my books. First, this book is one of my favorites. It was my 5th book, 4th book written. And here's why it's my favorite. You want to see? Somebody already walked by today and they're like, blank book? I'm like, pretty much. Here's why it's my favorite. Because I do videos, and a lot of people talk about the gratitude journal. And gratitude is you write down 3 things you're grateful for every night, and then every morning you read those 3 things. End your day positive, start your day positive. But for me, what I realized is that's all about me. I have a job. I have a place to live. People like me. Okay, it's a good life, but I don't want you to live a good life. I want you to live a great life. So what I did is write down 1 or 2 things you gave away every day. Who did you make smile? I know that many of you hear stories repeated. My mother goes to Mass every single day, and she tells me the same stories most days. She mostly, when we swear, we whisper in our family, so she'll say, there's Lutherans, and they're getting communion. I've reported them, but nobody cares. And I go, that's bad. I don't know, Mom. But she tells me day after day, and instead of telling her, you already told me, I listen. Because people want to feel seen and valued. And so this book is about how you generously give to another. So this is my gratitude journal. The Pineapple Principle tells the stories of what I just told you, but then what happened. How one woman told me I was the first woman to ever look at her in 36 years of life and not judge her. How a man told me after hearing me speak, he decided to come back to life after burying his wife 5 years earlier. Bruised to beautiful is because people kept saying, man, Annie, you are lemon to lemonade. And I say, I need a lot more than sugar and water to become who I am. And so what I believe is we all have bruises in our life, but we can take them and transform them into the most beautiful things in the world. And it's an analogy using a banana bread recipe that's fat-free. So even if you put an inch of butter on the banana bread, still fat-free banana bread. And then this book is my national award-winning book called Be the Exception. It takes you on a transformational journey on how you, whatever you go through, pandemic, death, loss, people not showing up, struggle in your life, can choose each and every day to be the exception. I'm Annie Meehan, and I hope you take care of yourself and go back to your workplaces with more love. Thanks so much.